don't gotta do it if you don't want to. You don't gotta do it if you don't want to. It's just a suggestion. Come on.
Well, we're back. Welcome back to the conversation. I'm Syke. Here joining me, as always, is Letter K. And, well, by the time this episode releases, we're probably going to be neck deep in the consumer spending season for everybody who loves Black Friday and Cyber Monday and Christmas and anybody going out to purchase anything that society says they should.
So do people love Black Friday, or is it has it been have we created it in our minds as kind of an obligation? Do we have to go and pursue these less expensive opportunities for spending?
We do not. There's no reason to do so.
I don't do it. I do all my shopping online.
So the last time I actually got out of bed early in the morning when Black Friday was a thing that people would, it was an event. It was almost like an Olympic event. If you were not in shape and just pumped up on caffeine and coffee and whatever else, you probably did not have you didn't have a strong chance of surviving the event. But anyway, I went to Fry's Electronics. I don't even know if Fry's Electronics is still in business. Is it still a thing? Did you ever visit Fry's Electronics?
There was one in Sacramento. Remember,
Yes.
It was going when I was younger.
That's the one I went to.
Yeah. I don't know if it's still there.
The goal was to get there at 5 o'clock this one Black Friday when they opened, which I failed miserably.
Of course you did. 5 o'clock what day? 5 p.m.
It was more like 7 o'clock when I got there.
Okay.
And all of whatever they had, all of their loss leaders that they promoted in the local paper.
The
and
doorbusters, the barn
Yes.
burners, whatever.
We only have 2.5 of these, all of
Yes.
that stuff was gone when I got there. I mean, I still picked up a couple things that I didn't necessarily need, but they happened to be on sale and I felt good about it. But now everything's online.
Yeah.
All the shopping is pretty much frictionless. You have your account, they have your info, they've got your card, they've got your shipping.
But Black Friday's still a thing. People
It is.
Do it. People
It is.
still do it.
Now it hasn't. So last year, Black Friday did better than I think the previous 2 or 3 years. There was more of an uptick in consumer spending in
Yeah, of course.
2023, years following COVID.
You've got to be hardcore to don a mask, and during the height of COVID, to don a mask, get into a line or a clump or a gaggle with other consumers and rush of Best Buy.
Yes.
You've got to be into. You got to want to do that.
So stores weren't promoting it as much and advocating for it, and people were out of work. People didn't have a steady income. People were scared. People were dipping into their savings.
It's a good opportunity too for businesses to shift their business, their marketing to online sales,
Yes.
because it's cheaper to ship from a warehouse than it is to have employees in a brick and mortar store trying to sell you stuff
Mhm.
down an aisle.
But I'd always thought, even when I was in high school, I was like, well, why are we doing this on Friday? And why is it the Friday after Thanksgiving? Well, I know, okay, let's get done with Thanksgiving. Let's get more in the holiday spirit with Christmas and with New Year's and that sort of thing. I get that Hanukkah and all of the other holidays that are celebrated in between Thanksgiving and New Year's. I get that. But what's preventing somebody from moving that up a day into Thanksgiving, or maybe the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, or maybe...
So it's all profitability, and I have an answer for that because I was in groceries for 16 years.
Mhm.
So Thanksgiving is such a huge grocery retail event that people can't focus on two things at once. So they found some places have tried to do it, like Sears years ago tried to move Black Friday up. Sears was putting Christmas stuff out in July a couple of years in a row, 10, 12 years ago. And they found that people couldn't focus on Christmas gifts and Thanksgiving. So once Thanksgiving ends, that's completely brushed off their plates. Let's get people buying products and cookie mix and toys for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then this happens.
Black Friday isn't quite what it used to be. Back in 2014,
This guy is get out of the way
Get up!
just in time.
police had to be called to a number of mini riots across the UK as customers battled over discounted Polaroid.
It's nice to know it's not just America.
They're supposed to be more polite and proper over there.
What part? Not this part.
Staff in supermarkets were powerless to prevent the frenzy.
Oh boy. So I've never done Black Friday, ever. I don't need to spend that bad. The whole point is to get deals, and I get it. You're trying to save money, buying things for your family. We're a consumer-centric society, but I've never needed to buy anything that bad. I mean, I defy you to tell me anything that is so necessary to purchase on any specific day that we're going through that where the guy is dragging himself out of the way before he is trampled.
Yeah, no, that is definitely not worth it. If you are risking life and limb to get a new TV, the latest flat screen display, it's just not. No, you don't need to do that. And fortunately for both of us, all of our needs are taken care of. Like we don't really.
Yeah.
We're pretty set, and we have everything. We have our ducks in a row. We have things that we use and that we want, and they work. Well, with the exception of me recently with my car, deciding not to be a car anymore. But that's a story for another episode. And I'll solve that, and it's not the end of the world, and life goes on, and it just happens. But we'll get a new car, and that'll be the end of it. But other than that, everything else that we have works, and if we buy something, it's because we want it, not because we need it.
Yeah.
And I think for people who are living at the poverty line or below, well, hopefully they're not going to something like this. But maybe if they're just I would suspect if you had a few bad years financially leading up to Christmas or leading up to Thanksgiving or the sales that come about around that time, and then you land a job and you have more disposable income at your fingertips, and you've done without for so long, and you're just ready to go, and you have money burning a hole in your pocket. I think that really draws those people in.
No, I don't think so. I think that is the dark side of forced frugality. Like, you really want to provide some type of joy, and you don't see any other option but to brave that scenario in order to achieve that. That's what I think. But
So people receive enjoyment from knowing they paid less than the next person.
no, I think that it's a matter of necessity. I think that like, if I'm going to provide any kind of Christmas for my children, I have to pay attention to these deals and these things, and I have to go out on this day and have to wait in line so that I can get this thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're just buying into the consumerism. They're getting sucked in to the consumerism. So we kind of jumped right into it. We didn't actually announce what we're obviously talking about money this trip. So yes, finances and spending is today's chief topic.
Yes.
Not to be eclipsed by the fact that I'm not drinking today because I just had my number 14 molar extracted,
Which you paid to have them take out.
which I paid to have them take. Actually, I got a really good deal on it. When they told me They told me how much my portion was going to be because I've got the dental insurance, and pretty common nowadays the insurance paid 80%. And it was actually my portion was actually less than 20%. When the gal was like, "Yeah, it's going to be $46 or something," I was like,
Brilliant.
sounds like a bargain. Yeah. And so yes, I had my tooth pulled out. It's still healing. Right now I've got the the suture thread that they put in your mouth. Now it's like biodegradable. It, like your body will eat it over time, so you don't have to go back to have it pulled out. But like as it's healing, it's pushing this thread out. And I've got like this, it feels like I've got a hair in my mouth, which is unpleasant to say the least.
Please tell me more.
And while I'm doing that, eating has become extremely difficult because now I'm missing my favorite chewing tooth. But
They'll make you a new one.
so here's the thing, if we're talking about spending money, yes, an implant would be my best option, and those aren't cheap.
Do it.
I can't, because the problem that I had with this tooth that caused it to be removed, it ate the bone. And the reason why they had to do it, so like once I went to the surgeon, he tried to do it that day. Like it took me 10 or 11 weeks to get an appointment to see the guy. And then he was like, "Hey, we need to do this afternoon." It was right before my anniversary trip to Reno. So I was like, "Bro, can I get 5 days?" And I had it done right when I got back. But apparently it's eroded the bone to the point where if it waited too long to take it out, it was gonna put a hole in the bone between my mouth and my nasal cavity. So I don't have enough bone to screw a implant in there. So after it heals, we'll see what the dentist says. However, not the point of the story. This is the point of the story. We not drinking today because I'm healing. Last episode, I was telling about me and my dad going to the old saloon in Loomis and getting Sioux City sarsaparilla, and they still make it. The bottle's different, but there it is. It's kind of awesome that I went to Bevmo and there it was. Tastes like memories. That's pretty brilliant. Oh, I'm enjoying that.
And I am not accompanying you on this sober day. I am with a nice 15.2 ounce glass of Jack and Coke. These little bottles of Coca-Cola.
Little Mexican Coke bottles?
Yeah.
Yeah. They only came in one size for like 10 generations. And now just like regular Coke. So spending. I read recently that Coke, there's a huge like problem with sugar-related disease in Mexico because they drink more, Mexico City and the surrounds drinks more Coke per capita than any other region in the world.
More so than Georgia?
You mean like the country of Georgia?
No, or the state. So their headquarters has been in Georgia for years. Here's a story connected to Coke, but more or less unrelated to our topic today about spending. But Georgia is so into Coca-Cola because their headquarters is there. One year they were having Coke Day, Coca-Cola Day at one of the high schools, and Coca-Cola gives so many dollars per year, and they spread it around the region, and they're celebrating Coca-Cola at this high school. And this one kid wore a Pepsi shirt. And
got his ass kicked.
He got suspended, and they tried to expel him. Yes.
What is he, a terrorist?
Real life story.
Competition
True.
is no joke. So
the school, the administration sanctioned this suspension, and they called it something like unruly behavior or
willful disobedience.
Conduct that was unbecoming to one of our students. They put whatever title or words that they needed to communicate. This is not behavior that we are going to allow.
So Yes, it's true. Mexico has one of the highest rates of Coca-Cola consumption per capita in the world. On average, Mexicans drink about 708-ounce servings of Coca-Cola products per person each year, which is significantly higher than in the US, where the average is closer to 400.
Okay. Well, I only paid 98 cents for this bottle.
One of the big factors contributing to Coca-Cola's popularity in Mexico is affordability. Coca-Cola is relatively expensive when compared to bottled water. When in a place where everything has to be shipped in, Coke has made their product cheaper than the water it took to manufacture the
Yes.
Coke.
Yes. So back to Black Friday. On average, how many dollars do you think people spend during their Black Friday shopping nowadays?
As little as possible. That's the whole point of Black Friday. You're trying to save money.
Yes, I'm not asking you how much they save when they go out, but when they go out to spend, how much are they leaving at the stores?
So too much. An average person, I would say it's probably somewhere in the tune of $2-3 grand.
$2 to $3 grand per person
Yeah,
on Black Friday?
that's what, if you're trying to get all your shopping done.
Well, wow, you're rolling in some money. If that's
So
that's a lot.
But here's the big thing about we're talking about spending.
Are those your spending habits?
No, absolutely not.
Oh.
No, I'm talking about normal people. I have this feeling like they're spending way more than they should. And so when you ask me a question about how much people are spending, too much is the answer.
Yeah, too much.
And,
Too much is probably accurate.
And so, and I'm seeing the things that people are getting, and I'm thinking that the dollar value is pretty high.
So in the U.S., if we divide it all up, and I know people are spending, they have different tax brackets, they have different incomes. It's actually it's actually closer to about $300 per person on Black Friday during that time of year.
Sure, you can't even get a decent sized TV for that money.
No. So does that change your perspective at all? Do you think people are being more frugal?
No, I don't.
Is 300 unreasonable on that day of the year?
So when I think about spending money, I think about spending money in the terms of the time that it takes. We're trading our time, our lives. We're trading our time.
Unfortunately.
And so if I'm spending $300, that's fine, and I think that's pretty mellow. If that's a huge percentage of your holiday shopping, if that's just the start, just the kickoff, then I'm back to $2 or $3 grand. But if you're spending money and you're going out at midnight and camping out in front of a store, and you're putting a tent up at 10 p.m. or 8 p.m. the night before, and you're getting in line, and they're waiting for the customer, for the employees to pull the doors open, then jump out of the way so that you can rush in with everybody else, and you're spending all your day at the malls trying to bum rush and get these deals and do all these things. How much is that $300 really costing you in trading time?
It's experience, and it's entertainment.
For who? Not for those people who are being barreled into the store.
They knew what they were getting into.
Yeah, but they weren't looking for the entertainment of being
They
bum
were
rushed.
they were willing participants. They have seen and have heard of people experiencing the same trauma that they experienced prior to that date. It's been on the news and local news stations and even national news, and now with social media, it's all over the place. People know what they're getting into when they do that. So do they want to be a meme? Do they want to be trampled? Do they want to be the person that's giving the beating and trampling over the people that have fallen before them? I don't know, but people should know by now. People should know, especially in the U.S. with capitalism and the amount of consumerism that we involve ourselves with. We willingly participate at this point.
So there's a website called Black Friday Death Count.
Of course there is. How much money are they making?
They've been tracking incidents on Black Friday since 2006. And according to them, since 2006, there's been a reported 17 deaths and 125 injuries due to stampedes, fights, or accidents nationwide in the US.
It's crazy.
So 17 people have given their lives since 2006 so that we can have cheaper electronics on a very specific day of the year. So Cyber Monday is my advice to anybody unwilling to roll the dice on Black Friday deals.
Mm-hmm.
And you had mentioned that everything's going online. That's probably for the best. But I think that the people who are still doing Black Friday are the kinds of people who maybe they don't really have much of a choice, or maybe you're right. Maybe it is a part of their personal culture or their regional culture or their familial culture.
I'd say it's a ritual. It's kind of a tradition. Hey, my family's camped out at my house. I'm going to go camp out over here and get away from my family. They're all, especially in an election season. An election year, which we're in, if you're inviting family and you just shared a meal with people you only see once a year and everyone's coming at you with all of their ideas and political directions and philosophies, you probably would welcome an escape.
Especially after the presidential elections, which happened the first week of November. Any given Thanksgiving meeting with family, someone's going to be grousing.
Yes.
Yeah. Not the point. Black Friday.
Yeah.
So let's talk more about you.
Yes, I'm buying a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So as a super consumer,
I am.
are you so how do you feel that your spending habits fit into the norms for America? And before you answer that, I'll give you some basic statistics for that. According to ChatGPT, and this is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, from 2022, the average American household spent around $5,577 monthly, or about $67,000 annually, and this includes everything: housing, transportation, food, entertainment, other essentials. In 2023, the average American carried around $6,000 in credit card debt, and we know that the credit card debt in this country is like it's basically the new national crisis.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's been building for decades, but it's a big issue. If you think about $6,000 averaged across 400 million Americans,
Sure.
I mean, it's trillions of dollars.
Yes.
And this is the statistic that I'm most interested in you hearing. Americans reportedly spend an average of $314 monthly on impulse purchases.
Mm. Okay, so without giving you specific numbers, and I
don't want to give you specific numbers.
I already know, approximately how much I make. So you can ration and deduce where I would land. I exceed those numbers
Okay.
in all categories.
And you like to buy things. You
I
like
do.
stuff. You get an idea in your head, and it requires a thing. And I think that your mind is constantly finding things to be excited about, so that you can buy things to be excited about for the thing that you want to do.
Yes and no. To a certain extent, I like things that allow me to be active and do something. And I also like things that allow me to connect with people. So, and if those things if any one thing can allow me to do both, that thing has more value. So if I can learn a new skill or try something new that I'm interested in, or maybe I'm talking about new things, because I mean, if I like this and the next greatest this comes out, then all right, well, maybe I'll replace, even though this works perfectly well, maybe I want the next one. But if the next new one is going to help me enjoy this more, and it's going to help me learn something new, and be active and help me connect with people, then yeah, I'll do that.
On the other side of that coin, I have the same 4 Ninja Turtle plastic cups that I bought in 2008. I still use them. Raphael's still
All
my
right.
favorite.
Now I know what to get you for Christmas.
But you do understand, probably much more than I do, the notion of impulse purchases. Impulse purchases.
Yes. So there's an actual.
When you say you have a medical condition,
I don't want to go that far. It's not in the DSM-5 or anything like that. It's not a full-fledged psychological anomaly. But there's a thing called comfort spending.
retail therapy.
Retail therapy is the title?
Yeah.
Oh,
You've never heard that?
I don't know that I don't think I have.
It's
Retail therapy.
Yeah, it's generally associated with a woman goes through a bad breakup and her girlfriends are like, hey, let's go do some retail therapy. And they go shopping.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. No, I haven't heard that nomenclature before, but the comfort spending I have heard of, and it is a thing, and therapy is recommended. Checking in with one's mental health is definitely recommended if one can try to change the chain of behavior that leads to that. Like if you know you're feeling this way and you know that typically ends up over here with less money in your bank account, then wherever you can interrupt that chain of behavior would benefit that person. If they find out they get to this part of their life and they have sticker shock or remorse, or they would rather not, if this is detrimental to their lives, then yeah, they should absolutely try to find solutions.
So I think if you start spending money at a point where you're getting remorse, you're seeing remorse, and it doesn't have to just be buying things. Because so when we set up our set for the podcast, you purchased 12 or 14 different little signy things, so you could have exactly what you wanted. But
Wall art.
wall art. Do you have any remorse about over purchasing for this?
No.
No. So that's okay. I bought one thing, right? And that was perfect for me. But at what point do you comfort purchase so many things that you're not even do you know what to do with them? Like you get people like women who collect purses, who buy purses and have a closet full of purses still in the package, or dudes who buy car parts, or just because you're right, buying stuff feels good,
Mm-hmm.
but when it becomes a problem is when you get that remorse, and is that remorse tied to running out of the funds to continue that? Does that become a mental health issue? Like overbuying, gambling, money you don't have, that kind of stuff?
So for me, I don't know. I feel good when I make a purchase. Why I feel good is perhaps debatable, and I don't want to get into dissecting every single moment, but if I want something and or need something and I am able to get it, it's meeting a want or need and hopefully solving a problem. And I know with men specifically who tend to veer towards that, if I can solve a problem, then I have a little bit more worth. I'm valid. I'm providing a function. I've served a purpose. So if I buy that thing that's going to help me meet a want or need and help me solve that problem, then I'm satisfied with that. Now, I have noticed personally, if I have, let's say, 6 out of 7 days, I'm making an Amazon purchase. So I'm getting 5 to 6 days worth of, because I haven't set up my Amazon day yet. I buy it. It comes.
You're
like,
part of the problem.
I
You're
am
keeping prices up.
a topic for another time. I buy it. If I buy it, I want it. I want it in my hand now.
Yeah, I know you do.
If there was Amazon Now, and I know
It's coming.
Johnny Chang, I think it's the comedian that brought that out in his special on Netflix, which I love. Amazon Now. If Amazon Now comes out, that's what I want. So if I have that 5 to 6 days of something arriving at my door, now just like with any other human condition, when it comes to behavior, you're expecting it, right? And so on that 7th day,
Get a little endorphin rush.
well, when
6 days of the week.
when nothing arrives on the 7th day,
Depression.
so I have noticed that, and I'm aware of it, and I know why, and I've studied this stuff. So it's not like, okay, oh no, nothing. I gotta buy. No, if I don't have a need or a want or something that's not reasonable, I'm not going out and buying extraneous stuff just to have it. And I know my wife and I, we used to watch and love hoarders, right? People that were enamored with a particular thing, and that collection grew to the point where the owner of that collection could no longer keep up the current collection that they had, but they were continuing to purchase.
They have to buy.
Yes.
Well, but I think for you, it's not so much the act of spending is the act of being delivered to. You like to have the things.
It's much more efficient for me. If I have to go out and get all of that stuff, I'm spending time, I'm spending my gasoline, I'm spending, there's also that sacrifice where I'm not with the people that I love the most. So all of the above.
Yeah. So at what point is engaging in retail therapy and buying simply for the sake of buying and being sucked into the commercialized consumerism of our country a detriment to the person spending? So according to the Federal Reserve, 44% of Americans have enough savings to cover a $1,000 emergency, and 25% have enough money saved up to live their normal life for 3 months. So when we're talking about spending, when is spending a problem for the person?
If you delve into that area where you are neglecting your financial responsibilities, then that's too much. If you are neglecting the people that you love the most, that you live with, that you cohabitate space with, then you're spending too much.
Do you think so? What creates that? Because obviously, I mean, you get a host of bills every month. You know how much money you need, but so many people are putting groceries and their Hulu account and all these frivolous things, or things that shouldn't be charged, onto their charge cards, and they're generating this average of $6,000 in credit card debt. Do you think that part of the problem is people don't know how to spend? They don't really understand the finances. Because, like, how do I want to say this? So you make $1,000 a month, right? But you don't make $1,000. You earn $1,000 a month. It's $800 after $200 goes to state and local taxes, to feds, to Medicare, to Social Security, to all this stuff. But you look at your check and you're like, oh, I made $1,000 this month. Do you think people don't understand the concept of budgeting into spending, and that's part of the problem? Because I really do think we have a problem in this country with understanding the concept of proper spending.
Yes. Financial literacy is
That's what I
low.
was trying to say. All that could have just been, I could have just said financial literacy.
Yes, financial literacy is low. And in fact, the campus that I work on has a specific course designed to teach just that alone. That's all it does.
In high school? It's high school campus?
Yes. It's a high school campus teaching just that. In fact, I mean, you can go on YouTube and you can learn from the same person that designed the curriculum that our high school campus is currently using, and it's a very prominent name, Dave Ramsey. I think many people know him and have learned from him, as have I. I always give out his name and give a link or two that can help people get started if they don't know where to start, if they're struggling from the ground up, or maybe definitely with high school students. Many of our high school students don't have two parents, right? And so there's less time that they're receiving from the person that is raising them. And if that time is extremely limited, financial literacy, especially from a struggling single parent, is something that's going to be more difficult for them to teach, because if the parent is struggling with financial literacy, then they kind of feel that they're not able to teach that adequately enough, and so they don't necessarily broach the subject. On the other hand, I keep our budget on Excel, and if my boys come around, hey, we'll sit down and they get to look at it. I show them everything I buy. I tell them exactly what it costs, and they know. And when we have a month where we're spending a lot of money on this and that, in fact, it's our youngest boy, he's like, "Oh my, we should stop. We don't need to. We don't need this right now. We can do this later because we just spent a whole bunch of money."
So did you, and I'm leading you with this question, obviously, did you have to self-educate financial literacy, or
Yes.
did you receive training as a youth?
No. Unfortunately, and if my mother, who's still alive, sees this, I'm sorry, Mom. My parents did not do, in my opinion, my perspective, I did not perceive that my parents did enough to teach us what was required to sustain oneself, make a living, make sure that you're able to meet your financial obligations, make sure that you're able to sustain yourself over time. My parents, they went through all of it themselves. And so I don't think they had the knowledge or the skills at that time. And of course, it's much easier to judge them looking back in hindsight. And they went through all of that before the internet and all of the information that we have available now, and all the tips and tricks and everything that is before us at press of a button. But no, I'm not of the opinion that my parents did enough to keep us on that course that would propel us into financial success.
See, I'm wondering if I had the benefit of receiving a lot of financial-based education growing up. And I'll never forget, the fact that I will never forget is a testament to how successful it was. My fourth grade teacher, Mrs. McGregor, we did a whole section on balancing checkbooks. And it was tied to, doing basic math, because that's all checkbooks are. And this is the 80s, back when checkbooks were still around. And, Mrs. McGregor, who taught like my parents' generation as well, she'd been teaching for like 50 years. In her mind, checkbooks were never going to go away. So she was teaching us math, but also how to balance checkbooks. We had the same kind of stuff in my high school, where kids could take financial literacy as a course, and it taught you everything. It taught you how to balance checkbook, how to get a job, how to manage your expenses, how to spend money properly. And for me, my father is very good with money, to the point where I would, when I was younger, I almost accused him of being afraid of money. Like he kind of made me, he kind of brought me up with a belief that you need to keep as much of your money as possible, right? But he also taught me that everything you make is not everything you can spend. And I was looking here. It says that the average savings rate of households in the U.S. is currently 3%, which the Federal Reserve recommends 10 to 12%. When I was a kid, when I got my first job, for starters, my dad never liked me to work as a teenager. He was like, you know what, go to school, get a good job, then you can start working.
Mhm.
I always wanted to work. I always wanted to have my own money, my own responsibility. And so I've always worked. Once I got a job, the first thing my dad did was tell me how much rent was going to be. So when I was, 15 and a half, 16 years old, I was paying rent.
Mm-hmm.
And it was nothing. It wasn't like a crazy amount. It was just a small amount. And when I finally moved out of my parents' house many years later, he had saved all that money and he gave it back to me when I moved out. But at the time, what it taught me was that not every dime I made was to be spent willy-nilly on anything I wanted, that I had responsibilities, and he forced me to understand those responsibilities. I think that did a lot for creating the person I am today and the way that I treat spending. And I don't know that a lot of people had the benefit of that.
No. And we have all of those ideas convoluted with social media too. You have
Yeah.
people going out to Louis Vuitton and charging something and taking it back home and then putting up a few TikToks with it.
Yeah.
But the reality is most of those people, they just take those things right back to the store. Or you see people on a private jet getting a tour pilot, go ahead, let's take off. And well, they just rented that jet for 15 minutes. They're not going anywhere. They didn't actually pay for that. And so there's all of this fear of missing out, the FOMO that exists, the people that want to keep up with the next door neighbors or the Joneses, so to speak. And all of that contributes to, we just want to enjoy life now. Some of that I do agree with. I think there are some things that one can purchase and one can buy, and there's a more correct or a more appropriate time to enjoy those things. If you're thinking about maybe, well, this came up the other day with sports cars, a video I was watching on sports cars that sit this high off the ground. Well, when you can finally afford one at 80, do you want to be getting in and out of that car?
Right.
You probably don't. So if you can make that purchase happen much younger, in your 20s or 30s, then why not? And especially if you don't know exactly, like everyone, nobody knows how long they're going to live, right? You can't just view the calendar in the future and go, oh, well, I've got another 30 years. Okay.
I totally agree with kind of tunneling your spending, your frivolous spending, because a sports car that's 2 inches off the ground is 100% frivolous.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with deciding how you want to entertain yourself, how you want to enjoy your life, and focusing on that when it comes to spending your extra money. And hopefully you have enough extra money to pursue that kind of stuff. Like for me, I really only enjoy playing video games, watching movies, and being left alone. So to that end, I have a massive TV and a surround sound system in my living room.
You have a home theater.
Yes, I've put the money that I want to spend on entertaining myself into a very niche, specific thing for me and my wife, if she cares to enjoy it, which she could probably leave it behind. But I think the thing is, we get stuck in everything that we want to be like this rapper. We want to be like this person on TikTok, and it's all tied to spending. All of it is tied to spending.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be like that. I can't be like Biggie Smalls unless I'm riding the brand new Escalade and I've got the gold chain and I've got the fancy Oakleys with the diamond rims, But people want so badly to present the image that they see in the media that they completely lose sight of the fact that they're not the Notorious B.I.G.
Interestingly enough, there's been quite a few football players, NFL football players, that have come out and expressed how nothing you saw them wear when they were in their prime was real. The diamonds weren't real, the chains weren't real, the clothes were knockoffs.
Yeah.
They put, the smart ones, put that extra money, put all their excess resources away. They invested, they saved, and the person watching them across their, their living room, through their television, through the camera that they were in front of, there's no way they could tell if those diamonds are real or not. There's no way they can tell if that metal around their neck was gold or silver or what have you.
Yeah, a lot of the allure is fabricated by the industries that are trying to sell the people products.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the whole thing with going to awards shows, and the number one question that everybody who walks on the red carpet asks is, "Oh, who are you wearing today?"
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck does that matter? It matters because the
Does
people
not.
watching are the target for that question. Yeah, I think that my father did me a great service in teaching me that the $400 a month that I was making, in 1997 was only worth about $85.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the spending. If the quickest way to teach people, young people, to live paycheck to paycheck is simply to set that example yourself. If you model that for them in the home, if you don't provide them another perspective, if you're not, see, I know, well, for me, growing up, money and budgeting, it was kind of something you didn't talk about. It was extremely personal. You didn't share how much money you made with anybody. You didn't share what you spent on anything. Tags were ripped off of stuff when you gave gifts. It was impolite to ever share what something cost, or how much you make, or how much of a raise you got at this new job that you had, or what did that car cost. I think that philosophy, I think that school of thought really did the people of the next generation a disservice, because they just didn't know, and they felt uncomfortable discussing such topics and such ideas. And if you make one of the most important things in anyone's adult life an uncomfortable topic, or a topic that is shameful to be broached or ever brought up in company, then how are they going to learn from people that can do things outside of their family? And if that family unit never talks about it at all, then that child's going to be lost.
Yeah. I'm wondering now if my father did it on purpose or if he was just indifferent. But yeah, when we got gifts as a kid, he never took the tags off. They always had the price tags dead on it. And it was always like, well, if you need to take it back, it's got to be. And obviously that's easy to argue against, because they got the little serrated thing that just pulls off just the price.
Sure.
But he never did.
And they've got gift receipts for that. And
then, well, not now, but not in 1990.
did he want to make sure you weren't going to be cheated when you took it back? He wanted to make sure that you got the exact amount of purchase value.
He was very
back.
cognizant of the value of products and services. And he really wanted to push that into me. Like, I'll never forget my first computer that I bought myself. Hewlett Packard, had Windows 3.1 on it, and the power supply, the solenoid starter, it went out. So I took it to the computer shop at the strip mall by my house to get it fixed, and it was a lot of money. My father did not feel that. He basically thought that they were cheating the kid, right? And I still to this day don't know if the value I got for the money I spent was actually worth it. But he made me look up their phone number in the phone book, and he called them and he berated them for overcharging and swindling, an 18-year-old over the cost of a power supply for a computer. it was pretty expensive. Like I think at the time it probably would have been like a week's salary for me, like working full time at $5.15 an hour
Yes.
to have this replaced.
Probably expensive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Spending, you have to, the thing is, you have to do it. It's like eating, right? So we fault people for being overweight, or some people do, especially if one's morbidly obese to the point where their health is declining, right? Well, if you just ate less, you wouldn't be in that predicament. But the thing is, people have to eat. And in our society, you have to spend money.
But I
You have
think
to.
the reason why we don't talk about overspending as the same level of problem as overeating is because overeating has a solution you can also pay for.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, I think so. But the thing is, I don't know if there is a solution, but I'm sure we're going to find one in 3 weeks. Spending's fun. Endorphins are released. The dopamine hits the brain. There's a whole psychological effect when you get something, you receive something, when you use something. That if one's mental health is declining or in the balance, it's going to be extremely difficult to get
I see it. I see it in people that I know that have financial troubles, and they always seem to be buying things that they maybe don't need. And yeah, I think you're right. I think if you're, it's a slippery slope. It's a cyclical. It's a vicious cycle. You don't have money, so you're sad. The way you find the happiness is buying and spending money, so you don't have money.
Yes. And the people that are putting together those advertisements and the commercials and those campaigns to try to get the consumers to part with their hard-earned money, they have more psychologists working on that stuff than almost they have at casinos, or they know way more about human behavior and about rituals and traditions and practices and what is going on in your own brain than the average person does. And so
it's only getting better because we're giving them all of our metadata, and they are taking that, they're running it through AI, and then a human psychologist is dotting the I's and crossing the T's. And now they know how to get every last dime from us, and they do not care that you don't have that money necessarily.
Mm-hmm. And then they take the video and they post it online, and they unboxed something, and this is my new score, and this is what I just got, and all of that stuff just feeds into what you were talking about that's being processed with AI.
And these companies, they pay for those influencers. They give those influencers stuff to do that. It's just another form of advertising.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I think that the takeaway is that if you can avoid being sucked in to the glitz and glamour of commercialism, and just clear the fog of war enough to see a better pathway to proper spending, then you're going to be better off. Use some logic, use some wherewithal, use some common sense.
Yes. Don't go into debt unless you have to. And that's another discussion too. Don't spend more than you have. Leave some in reserve for an emergency. And just those three things.
Yeah, but according to statistics, none of that's happening by and large in this country.
Okay.
Yeah. But when we talk about saving,
that's going to be something I'm not very knowledgeable about.
Yeah, I think you're better at it than the average American.
We're going to find out.
We're going to find out.
Thank you for joining us this episode of The Conversation, where we delved into spending. I like to spend. I picked this topic, and it's amazing. And I think I can think of 3 or 4 different things I can buy.
It's so amazing.
While we were doing this, I was thinking of 3 or 4 things I can buy.
I sold myself stuff while we were having this conversation.
It's gonna meet that want need category.
Dude, I have a clip of you saying I was unbelievable or I was unreasonable or something because I burped. And here you are. We're trying to educate people on the dark side of overspending, and you were literally buying stuff in your mind as you're having that
Yes.
conversation.
Because I can afford it.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
See you next time.
Oh, I've got to pee so bad.